Are you stuck in an endless loop of putting way too many tasks on your to-do list for the day, thereby overwhelming yourself with how much needs to be done? Getting stuck on the couch, wasting the day away, unable to start on anything because you don't know where to start, so you just don't? Eventually going to bed having done absolutely nothing from said to-do list, feeling shitty and guilty about it, only to repeat it the very next day, having apparently learned nothing? Samesies, which is why this episode we're trying our best to explain what ADHD paralysis is and giving you our best tips and tricks for getting unstuck and into motion during those times when you're facing down your own wall of awful / brick of waffle. This topic may not be dear to our hearts, but it is certainly near. So come join us as we teach you how to trick yourself like a child into getting started.
They said that we'd grow out of it. Well, the joke's on them, that's just our brains. We're eccentric, loud, and stubborn, and most of our clothing is covered in stains. It's not a deficit of attention, there's just too much to think about. So if executive dysfunction becomes a little too much, if you forgot why you came in this room, or you're hypersensitive to touch, then put on your seamless socks and come join our little flock. Bitches stimming together, we're weirds of a feather, weirds of a feather.
I got a stupid warm-up question.
All right, lay it on me. But first, I'm going to introduce the podcast, if that's okay. Remember we just talked about this?
And I'll probably do the same thing again.
That's what I expected. That's what I'm here for.
What is like this?
I was playing with a pimple.
Oh, okay.
It's probably that.
Okay.
See, I don't have perfect skin.
I'm sorry. I didn't. I thought it was like, I thought you did your eyebrows and you like missed a spot.
No, I didn't do anything.
I'm sorry to call you out like that.
That's okay. I'm happy for it because now we can both acknowledge that I don't have fucking porcelain perfect skin all the time.
But like 99% of the time.
No.
It's beautiful.
I can't. All right. Welcome to Weirds of a Feather. This is an ADHD-Adjacent podcast. I'm your host, Grace. That's fucking Kristen over there. You guys,
and
whatever.
I'm Kristen.
She doesn't matter.
I matter.
She's here and she says she matters.
I do matter.
We'll find out if that's true. All right. Let me hear that dumb warm-up question that you got for me.
This is probably the dumbest one yet.
Sweet. Lay it on me.
How would you explain what burping is? We just talked about burping.
Yeah, we were just burping.
How would you explain what burping is to an alien that has no GI system? Like, how would you explain that?
Well, first, give them an example. Just give them a real life example.
Oh my God, that's such a great idea.
Right?
I thought about this for... Sometimes I have a lot of free time at work. Sometimes I don't. And when I have free time, I usually think about... Yeah. And I didn't come up with the fact that like maybe they would want an example of
you never thought give an example.
So I was gonna draw them a picture of like your stomach and bubbles.
I feel like the combination would go over quite nicely.
Yeah.
I think you need both because like, burping is just step one to show lay the groundwork to be like, all right, this is the subject matter.
Right.
Belch.
Right.
And then go on into your idea of drawing what the internal process is. I think that's a good idea.
But my other idea was like they're gonna want to know why we have stomachs, so we're gonna have to like explain the whole GI. Because what if they photosynthesize?
Aliens have been studying us for hundreds of years. They've been studying animals on this planet.
Right.
For
but what
long
if this guy's new and he like didn't do? He's like, catch me up real quick. What's burping? And you're like, buddy. We have to learn about the entire GI tract before we even talk about burping.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah, you have to.
How
can to educate him on what eating is?
Eating is right,
but also they're telepathic, so I feel like you could just like think
about it,
and then he would be like, "I understand." Also, he would say that he would be saying that to you telepathically.
Yeah, telepathically.
Yeah, and so just like,
and I'd be like, "All right."
Glad we're on the same page. Now,
do you think if they're telepathic and you like the sensation of a burp? We've talked about this.
Yes, I do.
So if he's reading our minds, he's going to know that you're like enjoying the burp and I'm not enjoying the burp.
Yeah, well, telepathy is different than mind reading. Mm-hmm. With telepathy, it has to be like purposeful communication, as if you were thinking, as if you were like verbally speaking out loud.
Okay.
So they're not just reading all your thoughts, but maybe they can. I don't know what type of alien we're talking about, but maybe they can. But yeah, I guess they would probably be able to tell she's enjoying this process. She's not.
And for some strange reason, this is extremely uncomfortable for the subject.
And isn't that interesting?
It is.
All right. That was a great warm-up question.
Yeah. The dumbest one yet.
It was a warm-up question. All right, Kristen, do you want to tell everyone what we're going to be talking about today before we get into our little accomplishments? What's the meat of our episode?
The meat. We are going to be talking about ADHD paralysis, which is so exciting. Boo, boo, boo.
We both sound psyched.
This is something that is near and dear to my heart because I experience it probably once a week.
It's near to my heart, but is not dear to my heart.
Yeah.
But it is near.
Yeah, I am not dear to it at all.
Yes.
It
sucks.
I hate it.
I hate it.
Near to my heart, not dear to my heart because I hate it and it sucks. And it's something that a lot of folks with ADHD go through, whether they know it or not. But I think we're excited to talk about it. But first,
before we get into the terribleness of ADHD paralysis, should we celebrate ourselves a little bit with little accomplishments?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
All right, let's do that song.
Little accomplishments, but big in our hearts.
All right, Christiche, tell me about your little accomplishment.
That's going back to college.
Christiche, that's Kristen's drunk alter ego, by the way.
Yeah, Christiche. She's been furloughed for a while.
But she'll be back. We've even talked about maybe doing some additional Patreon content for members only called Christiche Unleashed.
Oh my God.
Where we get Kristen real drunk on wine and then we ask her to explain technology.
Yeah.
Burps.
I'll tell you all about burps.
Lots of other things like that.
Yeah. Something going on in the old noodle. Christiche has a lot of opinions.
Yes, she does.
Christiche also hates men.
Well, as does regular Kristen.
Yeah.
But Christiche Unleashed is another
not
next
afraid
level.
to talk about it, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Violently at bars.
Yep. So that's why she's on the back burner for now.
But she'll come out sometime.
Jessica Campbellshire said no.
Yeah, she said absolutely not.
Yeah. Can I tell you about my little accomplishment?
Yes, please.
I'm proud of myself. Yesterday, this happened yesterday. It's so current.
So up to date.
It's up to date.
It's a good news tagline.
Yep. I took some time yesterday to work on my bonsais and kind of update my plant room. Nothing like getting yourself to work on something by buying a new thing, because I bought a new plant.
It's always a good strategy. Like having a baby to fix a marriage.
Yeah. I had a couple plants that were in a need of repotting. They were like busting out of their pots. So I not only did I get a new plant, but I had to get some soil. It was like a whole thing. I potted plants into the darkness because I was working outside, which was super nice. It was nice to like
into the darkness.
Yeah. It gets dark early now.
Yes, I know. Thanks, daylight savings. Or I guess this is back to normal. Is this what normal is? Do we like? I thought we didn't like daylight savings.
We stopped daylight saving.
I did too. Thank you. I said that's my mom.
Didn't we have a vote on it?
That's what I thought.
Didn't the country was like...
Well, no, this is going back to normal. Right. So daylight saving, right? Didn't daylight savings time start in the spring?
We stopped it all together.
But I'm saying if it starts in the spring, this would be ending it.
Okay, so now we just don't do it anymore.
But I don't know. My mom made it sound like I was crazy when I was like, I thought we were done with that. So, well, I will see what 2023 brings.
Yeah,
we won't know until we wake up.
If you know about daylight savings time, please reach out to us at weirdsofeather@gmail.com. Are we still doing this?
What's going on with this? Let us know.
I thought we stopped. I was really pumped about it. I was like, oh, finally, this really annoying thing that we do every year is done.
It either stops in 2023 because, like I said, it cannot stop now because this is it stopping now. So it's like even if we were getting rid of it, it still would have had to end now. either way.
There's only some way we had some sort of like technology where we could look this up.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Nothing we can do about it. No way to know. So I guess we'll just wait and see what spring brings.
Yep.
Just wake up that next day.
Why are the clocks different?
Yeah, see if the clocks are different. And then we'll know. All right.
Grace, what's your little accomplishment?
I can already tell this is going to be a just solid episode.
Yeah.
All right. I'm legitimately so proud of this. I can't even believe I did it. I was I had to go and check my parents' mail while they're down in Arizona, living their old people dreams. And my mom has tasked me with going through the mail with her on FaceTime, which I don't even go through my own mail. So this task is so hard for me.
This is so funny.
So we've had to lock down a time where I'm forced to go up to their house.
Can I FaceTime with Susan so we can go through my mail too?
Yeah, I'm sure she'd be happy to do that.
I need someone like
Same.
that.
Yeah. I literally do not go through my mail. We just have stacks of it. But turns out mail is good sometimes because I was inspired by being forced to go through my mom's mail. So I came home and something came over me and I went through my own mail of this pile that's just been piling up, haunting me for literally months. And I found $600 inside.
Whoa, wait a minute.
I got 2 rebate checks, one from my health insurance company and one from whatever the fuck. One was
here in America, you have to pay for healthcare because it's a privilege, not a right.
But then sometimes you get a fun little bonus where they give you your money back.
Right.
And isn't that a special day? It feels like free money because I forgot about it. And I didn't know I was overpaying and I wouldn't have known if I hadn't gone through the mail.
Once again, paying for healthcare. But that's beside the point.
Yes.
Moving on. Proud of you. Proud of you.
Bring down my little accomplishment,
not
please,
trying to. I'm very
healthcare.
Excited that you got your money.
I found one check for $250 and another check for $400. And I was like, oh my God. Sometimes the mail is good.
Sometimes mail is good.
And it is good. And I was like, I'm now going to open my mail every single day.
You're like...
and I have not.
Remember that episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine where Andy Samberg has the bathtub of mail?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
That's what you are.
I strongly related to that scene. I remember that one. I was like,
the bathtub of mail.
Yes. Or April and Andy freezing their mail in Parks and Recreation.
That's right.
Yeah, Ian and I just have huge stacks. We both are terrible at opening the mail.
I feel
it's not a good combination.
Shows are always there's those shows are always looking at a bunch of neurodivergence from the neurotypical perspective,
or they're written by ADHD,
they're
other
written
neurodivergent people.
But it's written by ADHDers trying to view it from a neurotypical lens.
Yes,
to viewing a bunch of.
Because you see how outrageous our behaviors look.
Oh, for sure.
Because, I don't even know if it's necessarily trying to give neurotypicals insight to us. I think it's just when we see our behaviors externalized, we're like, well, that's crazy. Like a bathtub of mail. I was like, oh, no.
But then you're like, that hits on a level, though.
Yes. It's so accurate that obviously it was written by neurodivergent people. Because neurodivergent, most big characters on TV are neurodivergent. Because they're more interesting. They're more out there with big personalities.
There's conflict and interest.
Yes. Yes. So anyways, I opened my bathtub of mail and I found money inside. And
I'm so proud
you
of
guys should too, because there might be a little treat. And if there's not, it's not my fault.
Write us in if you have a bathtub of mail that you opened recently.
Yeah, let us know how much mail you have and if you're good at it. And if you are good at it, tell me your tricks and don't fucking tell me. Don't put it down, put it away. Don't put it down, open it up. No, I'm not going to do that. And we all know it. Let's be reasonable. Let's be reasonable.
Now we have, Christopher and I both have our mail cubbies and we're each responsible. We bring the mail in every day, but then it goes into our cubbies and it's up to us to figure out when to,
See, that's the system Ian and I have been using, and we have both chosen 3 years is when we want to open mail.
I think I'm 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I could never.
But a lot of it's right now it's election stuff. So if it's in a bright colored envelope, this is a bad way. I immediately throw it out. I don't even look at it.
See, you got to open stuff up because sometimes there's checks inside that you weren't expecting.
Right.
This is the biggest motivator for me to open mail that has ever happened.
Could it be money?
Yeah. And it probably won't be for a long time, but
you never
sometimes
know.
It is.
There you go.
All right. Anyways, let's dig into this meat of the episode. Enough talking about the mail. I wish we had a theme song for like the meat.
It's the meat.
It's the meat. That's
Arby's. Yeah, I was gonna say someone has that.
It is the meat.
Yeah.
Theirs is we have the meat.
Yeah. We don't have meat, but we
have metaphorical meat.
Yeah. Metaphor meat. Bum bum. I love it.
All right. Yeah. Anyways, the meat is ADHD paralysis, as we said. I guess that's our ADHD topic is what we usually call it.
Our little learning corner.
Yeah. ADHD learning corner. But this topic was recommended by Susan Peterson. Susan, thank you for this recommendation. It was really helpful, and we're glad you wrote in. So Susan sent us an email saying, currently listening to the TAP-isode, and you both mentioned ADHD paralysis in passing. I would really love to hear more about that. Both personal experiences you two have had and also from your educational perspectives. Keep up the great work, ladies.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
Susan, that was sweet. Thank you for writing that in. Yeah, actually, that reminds me, Ian made a comment yesterday where he was like, you guys always say in passing, like, we should dig more into that topic, or we should tell those stories, or we should do another episode about that. And then we never do.
This is that. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
This was my exact reaction. But he said it was more meant.
So much this is not a bad thing. We have a lot of content to go through.
He meant it more like those would be good topics for you guys to cover, but I took it as like, you guys need to do this. But then we talked about
follow through on your word.
Yes.
I won't.
Yes. But he said that whenever he thinks of a topic that sounds interesting, that he was like, oh, I wish they, would have gone more into that, or we said we were going to go more into that, he would let me know. And Susan just did the same thing. So thank you, Susan. And all you other listeners out there, if you have a topic that we have said we were going to deep dive into and we have not yet, let us know. And it might be on our list, and we might be like, fuck you, we already know. Or it might not be, and we'll be like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You never know. You don't know what you're going to get. And that's a fun game for you. And anyways, Kristen.
Yeah.
What is ADHD paralysis? Let's start there.
So I'm struggling to find like a really good definition. But here we go.
All right.
I didn't find there's no like bread and butter being like, here's like the one liner of what it is. I think what is the most helpful is describing it, but we're going to try. So bear with me, everybody. Take a deep breath. Nice. Okay. So ADHD is described as having a lack of focus. So you can imagine when we have to make a decision, such as like starting which task, this can be very challenging. So much so that ADHDers can go into this state of like frozen indecision, also known as ADHD paralysis.
And people also talk about it as decision paralysis. Yes. Is like the other name I hear it being referred to as.
Well, so psychcentral.com, which is one of the resources I use today, I'm not like the biggest fan of this website, but because there's a lot of ads and I don't like it. But they did break it down into 3 categories, and I thought that was good. So, all
right.
So the 3 categories of ADHD paralysis, you can have this mental paralysis, task paralysis, and choice paralysis. So mental paralysis is like too many thoughts or emotions, unable to describe how you're feeling. I get this a lot when we're supposed to be having like serious relationship discussions. And I have so many things I want to say and communicate that I just totally shut down. It's not great.
But it's kind of like out of your control.
Yeah, it takes a lot to like snap me out of it. And I'm getting better, but I do struggle with that because sometimes I just feel like I want to like say everything, but I end up saying nothing because I don't know what to start with first. Like, how do you, I have a hard time like logically saying things in order, or just logically saying things. We could just stop at that. But yeah, mental paralysis, task paralysis. I think this is the most common one people associate with. And this is when I have a paralysis moment, this is it. It is too many tasks, chores, things to do. So like you'll have a day where you're like, I'm going to get all these things done, and you're motivated, but then it's like, where do you start? Where do you begin? And then you all of a sudden go down this spiral and get this block and end up like either like doom scrolling or just doing nothing or crying. Sometimes that's what I do.
I think part of that also is our all or nothing thinking, where it's like, I need to, obviously I have this free day. I need to get, 27 things
Here
done.
are 27 tasks, easily accomplishable tasks,
and we want to get them all done, but it's like, what would be the most ideal way to go through this list, or where to start, or what would be the most helpful to start with? And it's like, you don't even know.
It's not like just get started. It's like, with what? There's so many things.
But what's the right one to start?
What is the logical reasoning? It's
And the answer is to just start doing something.
Anything.
But it's so hard when you're stuck in that moment.
Right.
And it also plays into if you give a moose a muffin effect, where it's like, well, if I'm going to do that task, then first I really need to do that. And if I'm going to do that, then I do that. And that also gets me real wound up with
because then you're like, okay, these 27 tasks turned into 42 tasks.
Yes. And I'm like, well, what's the point in like starting anything?
I'm not going to get anything done.
Yeah. If I can't do it all, then I should just do nothing and feel bad about it all day. Duh.
Yeah, of course.
The logical explanation. All right. And what's the third kind?
The third kind is choice, which I think this is very similar to tasks. Tasks, you have so many choices of tasks to do, but choices. So too many choices, you can't make a decision. I think a good example of this is when you're shopping for something. And
I think they're different when you're like trying to decide on something.
I think... And I cannot find, I think it was a blog post, and I have to find it again because it was so right on the money, where you do all this like research on, for example, for myself, mattresses. I did all this. I made an Excel spreadsheet. I researched for so long. And then someone was like, Tufts and Needles is having a sale. And I was like, boom. And it was like not even my first choice of mattress. I like it. It's okay. But like,
should have done more research.
I did all the research, but then I was so like, there was so much of a decision. It was so over trying to make a logical decision that I just made an illogical one.
Well, you made a financial one.
I find it,
but it wasn't. Didn't take everything into consideration that you had wanted to, because you were so burnt out.
Right.
On
from
just trying to
make a choice.
Yes.
Or a restaurant, trying to choose a restaurant. This is like when people are like, well, where do you want to eat? And you're like, I don't know. Because I really honestly don't know. One of my friends from grad school, when he was dating, he said, yep, when I ask a girl on a date, I choose 5 restaurants and I make a plan for each of them. And I'm like, why would you do that? Neurotypicals. Why
all that free time? Yeah, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, I was like, that's so overwhelming. 5 different restaurants. I got to look at all their menus. What's the attire for them?
Give me 2.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's exactly what I told him. Give me 2, and I'll pick between 2. I appreciate you trying to be accommodating.
Yeah, too many options.
2. It's too many options. I would never be able to pick that many.
Yeah,
or where guys are like, I'll go wherever you want to go, and you're like,
I don't know where I want to go.
If you're asking me out, you got to plan this, okay? Yes. I'm just gonna show up.
That's like half the date is the planning. Especially for me. Yeah,
right. Yes. So when people are like, well, where do you want to go out to eat? And you're like, this is going to be a much harder decision than it needs to be.
Yeah, I get that. I get a lot of choice paralysis when it comes to buying like anything, especially online. When I'm in person, I'm very impulsive about it. And I'll
for sure.
Buy it. But if it's like, especially
it's here, I'll get it.
Yeah, especially something like a mattress or like a bigger item.
Yes,
I will spend forever researching. And also, I can't remember where I heard this being talked about, but somewhere someone was talking about how ADHDers, especially when it comes to like purchases, like I'm thinking about like tattoos or something. We spend forever thinking about it, doing our research, trying to decide, trying to find exactly what we want, where it can take us like literally years. Like for me, for example, I started working on a sleeve and it took me literal years to like finish thinking about what I wanted and like work it out in my mind. But then once I had that idea of like it was completed, I booked an appointment very quickly and like got started on it. And from the outside, it maybe looks like, whoa, all of a sudden Grace started like working on this huge tattoo, but it's like, no, I've been stewing on it for years. So I feel like
the pot's been boiling.
Oh, she's been boiling. So yeah, I do see people kind of.
Yeah, that was when I bought my car. I was looking at cars for over a year. I test drove cars. I would like roam the lots, and then I would look online, and then all of a sudden, like, it was coming soon. My parents were coming to visit me out west, and I was like, I got to get a bigger car for all of us. So I just went and I got one. It was the one that I wanted. And the reason why I bought it is because it also came with like the nice floor mats. And that was a big bonus for me. Like the nice, like the hard ones.
Yeah.
Not carpet floor mats. So that was a big sell for me.
Yeah. Very important. All right. Yeah. So we kind of just chatted a little bit about how our ADHD paralysis presents, but do you have, where else do you have struggles with your paralysis?
Yeah. So kind of like what I said before, the main part is mainly when this happens to me is when it's usually, on my day off, and I'm like, today's the day that I do all of the stuff that I could ever do for stuff. And it's usually housework that I don't want to do, laundry, vacuuming, stuff like that. Or charting. If I have to get charting done, forget it.
Get out of
No,
here.
I get my charts done, but it's
last minute.
Yeah, my attending will be like, you sent me a note at like 11:30 last night. I go, yeah, I did. He's like, you got to go to sleep sometime. I go, chart's got to get done. But what happens is I'll have like some magical thinking that I'll like get all these things done, and I'll write a list out.
Other Kristen will just magically take over, drop from the sky. Yeah. She's never been here before one single time.
She's just gonna drop down and just take care of business.
Finally, but waiting 32 years for her.
Go to City Hall.
Yep.
Go grocery shopping. All those things.
Yep.
And I plan it all, and then I write a list. I even write the list out so I'll know exactly what I want to do. And then I'll wake up early, and then I'll just sit there, and I will be at a loss, kind of like what you said with the which one should I start first? Because if I start the dishes, I really need to put away the dishes, usually the clean dishes. And then if I'm putting away the clean dishes, all the tuppies, they don't dry right. So we put them air dry, and then I won't have enough room to do my regular dishes. So maybe should I put away half the dishes first and then let the tuppies dry and then go back to doing the regular dishes? But then what should I do in between? So it's like all these things, and I just sit about it, and then it gets so overwhelming that I kind of spiral out of control. I end up just sitting in a puddle and just cry. And I don't accomplish anything.
Yep.
Actually, when Grace and I, oh my God, when Christopher and I, this is when I'm mixing you up with my boyfriend.
Yes. I'm your primary partner.
When we were dating through the internet, he called me once, and I was in one of my anxiety attacks. And he was like, oh my God. And he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know. You can't even express and I finally got it out. I was like, I have all the chores, but I don't know what to do. And he said, well, why don't you, he goes above and beyond. He goes, I found a playlist. He found the Guardians of the Galaxy playlist, which is pretty fun. He said, great. You're going to listen to the first 4 songs. Oh. And then, because I screenshotted my to-do list to him, and he's like, you're going to get these 3 tasks done in the matter of that time, and I'll call you back after those 4 songs, and we'll listen together. And then he goes, starts now, and then he hung up. And it was like, oh my God. And actually, that kind of worked.
Yeah, it's kind of body doubling, kind of like competition.
A competition. I don't think he was doing chores, but it was just
he gave you a time. He gave you a time for you to be,
and
for
then
your own
just
competition.
And
that was really sweet and thoughtful of him. That's
a
so
direction
helpful.
of these are the 3 you're going to do, and then having some accountability, as in I'm going to get a phone call back, and they better be done right.
Yeah.
So
partners of ADHDers out there, that right there would be so helpful for us. So just take a note, get a pen, take a note.
Now we both sit and we turn into puddles. So
now do I have to be the one to call both of you?
Yeah.
We'll
be like, I don't know.
I'll be like, all right, then do nothing.
I know. You're not as... Your approach is a little different.
Just lean into it. Have a lazy day.
Yeah. Grace.
Yes.
How does your ADHD paralysis present, I guess?
So mine is, I can definitely kind of get into that mode. Not quite as bad as you, but mine is more And I think especially because I take stimulant medications, so the mornings are really the time where I'm like, all right, I have kind of this, not so much now anymore, now that I'm on Adderall, I feel like it lasts much longer throughout the day.
Nice.
But with the Vyvanse, I was like, all right, I have this like finite amount of time where my brain is going to be functioning for the day. And
That's
I really need to like hit the ground running right in the morning, you know, like right when my meds kick in. And I often really enjoy the mornings now. I was never a morning person up until I became an adult. Actually, up until like the last 2 years, I guess. Since I don't have to go into a job. Isn't that funny?
Isn't that fun?
How I enjoy my own time in the morning. I woke up at 5:30 this morning.
Jesus.
Because of daylight savings time and because I went to bed super early. Anyways. Yeah, so I feel like I wake up in the mornings like actually feeling very good about my day, like I can accomplish anything.
Right.
And I feel like I have the whole day ahead of me. I could do anything. I'm like on the couch, you know, I've taken my meds, I'm feeling good. And I get so excited about like all the different things I'm going to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I'm just taking my time. Look at me. Wow, I'm really on top of the day. And then all of a sudden it's been like 3 hours and I haven't done anything. I've just
had
been
mornings like that.
Thinking about, wow, I'm really on top of stuff.
I'm here. I woke up because you woke up early.
Yes,
you know?
Yes. And I'm like,
You're
I can take
all this time.
Yeah, I can
Don't
take
rush.
a little extra time to sit on the couch, listen to my last podcast, play my Candy Crush.
Oh my God.
Yep.
I can't right now.
And then I'm like, oh shit, it's been 3 hours and now I no longer feel like I'm ahead of things.
And now you're like, now we're behind.
Yes,
and
I'm
you're
like,
in behind
shit.
mode.
Yes.
And now you're stressed.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's like that additional like drop from, wow, I'm really ahead of this day of like, oh, I'm behind on this day. What a waste of this day.
Right.
And I feel like really anxious and like I need to like rush to get something done. And that's where I hit that wall of like, I don't even know where to start.
Right.
Because I had all these plans, these grandiose plans in mind for other Grace. She'll take over somehow, even though I'm not getting off the couch. And I feel, and I just feel super anxious and I don't know where to start. And so I don't.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll be able to like get myself going. It's really just, the whole thing is really just getting yourself to do literally anything instead of like wallowing in like, well, I've wasted the whole day.
I've wasted the whole day. It's like 10 a.m.
Yeah, I better just like watch TV.
Sorry, that was loud. Yeah, I know. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like doom scrolling or something and then you're like, wow, it's 4:00.
Yes. I have gotten better at not doom scrolling. I don't go on my phone in the mornings other than play my Candy Crush.
I've definitely started to do that, especially I found, since you've recommended not going on your phone in the morning, I found, this is anything, if I ever do something that's like a high dopamine, chocolate,
nice,
Candy Crush, Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Something like that. If I do it first thing in the morning, my day is all I can think about is those high dopamine things.
Because that's what you're looking for, that level of dopamine.
Right. And if I work my way up to it, by the time I get all my things done, and then I can like, little treat for me.
Yep.
Facebook Marketplace. Yay. Something like that. It's a lot of self-control that I don't have. So I would say Friday was a really bad day for me.
But sometimes you have those days and I feel like you have to embrace those days.
Right. And that's what I did. I knew I wasn't going to get anything done.
Yep.
And I didn't. So
sometimes you got to let yourself lean into it. You know? You got to open TikTok at 1 p.m. and say, that's the day. That was my day.
That was my day. This
is the end of the day.
Yep.
With this TikTok, this is the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yes.
So,
yep.
So this actually came up in multiple forums, including in Attitude Magazine. The concept of whether or not ADHD paralysis has gotten worse during the pandemic, the COVID.
Yes.
I would say, okay, moving on. Yes, it has.
Right.
Yes, it has. Okay.
Yes.
No, everybody's experience with COVID is different. Me working in healthcare, I still went to work every day.
Yeah, you didn't really have any major changes in terms of like obviously like
major changes in how like I treated patients,
like your day to day.
But I still got up and I still went to work. We didn't have like a work from home thing. None of that. I actually, the more I think about it, I'm like, thank God I'm just like, they'd fire me. I wouldn't get anything done. But I still got up. I still went to work every day. I never had like the 2 weeks that everybody got of like, oh, I guess we'll work from home now just for 2 weeks. Just kidding. It's half a year.
Yeah. I remember being like, yay, it's like a snow day. Yeah. And that was the last day I was working out of the home.
I remember I was like, I guess we'll just go to work and hope we don't die. Yep. Different experiences for different people. So everything changed, but for me at least, I still went to work. I think a lot of people who switched from working in an office for working to home, that's huge. You know, you go where you have a solid routine. You wake up at this time, you have to drive to work, you go to work, you have your work life at work, and then you go home and you have your home life. And now work is home and home is work. And, you know, you're kind of like responsible for yourself, I guess, of like, among other things, like learning a whole different technology base. Like if you're using like Zoom chats or Google Docs or whatever. And then I can't even imagine the people who had kids who had to learn from home.
I could never have done that.
I can't even, I have no words to describe the hell that would be, me trying to learn how to work from home and then also having my child learning at home.
Yeah, having to like also homeschool them.
Right. There's no way.
Yeah. Do you want to hear my experience as someone who did have to go from an office to work?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Let me just chat about.
Yeah, you tell me about other people's experiences.
Yeah, let me talk to you about theoretically if you had an office you went home. Yeah.
Well, as someone who actually did have that happen, I would say it's taken me about 2 years to get into a good routine, but I'm here.
There you are.
And I feel like I'm here.
That's good.
I feel like I've done it. You know, it really rocked me. But I guess I kind of had like mini experiences as someone who works in the school system where you have like, you know, a week-long April vacation, a week-long whatever, or like a whole summer off, which isn't actually like a whole summer off. It's like, you know, a month and a half or whatever. But I would do the same thing where I'm like, once I have all this free time, that's all I need. That's the only thing holding me back. Once the summer break hits, oh man, I'm going to get so much done. Yeah. Or once April break hits, wow, I'm just going to spend that whole week at home organizing. And then I like get absolutely nothing done. And that's what COVID was like for me for a long time.
Right.
Because I went, except unlike summer break or April break, I still had work I had to do from home. So it took me a really long time to organize that and like get into a good routine. And also, yeah, being able to like figure out where to start. Sometimes I'll avoid my work by like doing something around the house, but actually that can kind of help me because at least I'm like doing something.
Right.
So in some ways, I would say that that's, now that I've like figured out a healthy relationship with how to kind of balance doing like focused brain work with doing like physical work around the house. I think a good balance is important. I was really trying to force myself to just like do one or the other, but I really need to like break it up and I can't just be in that focus mode all the time. So that's helped. But yeah, it definitely for months and months and months and months, actually for years, it just all kind of blended together into this huge long to-do list. And also then you're at home, so you could be doing other stuff at home.
Right.
Whereas when you're at work, like you're just, first of all, go. So you don't really have time to be in decision paralysis. That's what it is. You kind of just have to almost be like forced into like, there's not enough time to like sit and stew on this and get stuck. Like you have to make a decision. And I feel like that's almost what I need.
Yeah. I can imagine. I think, you know,
you would have a very hard time because you're so reliant on.
I'm so reliant on
high structure.
I need structure. I need, even, and I always say this to my attendings, like if I don't have something to do, I'm going to get into it's not even I'm going to find something to do. I'm going to like go gossip. I'm going to, you know, take a walk and like find a new foot wound to ruminate on. We see a lot of feet. You know, the other day, you want to know what I did the other day? Bored.
Sure.
I made a list of local podiatrists in our area who were willing to see and do diabetic nail care because it's such an area of need in our community.
Well, that sounds like helpful.
It was. I wish I finished my Excel spreadsheet, but it's halfway done. Probably never to be finished, but I got a couple names.
There you go.
So usually if I don't have this structure of like, you know, here are the things that you're doing today, then I will find something. And it's usually destructive. It's usually not as helpful as that. That's my gold star.
All right. Well, with all that said about how you really struggle with decision paralysis, Kristen, why don't you tell us some tips on how to help yourself with decision paralysis? You're the best person for this job.
Best person for the job right here. Yep. Little disclaimer. Never have I once done any of these tips, but here are the tips.
I've done some of them.
Okay, I've done, let me look at them again. I've gotten like one.
All right. I feel like the first one is the most important one.
Yeah, I think the first one is the first.
The first one is the first one. I also feel that way, huh? Isn't that interesting?
The first one is the first one, and it's the first important. It's the most important.
No, it's the first important. All right. And what is that first important
The first important one? Yeah. It is checking in with yourself, and particularly your body. So like,
check those buds.
Check your bod.
I want your bod. Does anyone remember that commercial?
I do remember that. I know
you remember. I'm shouting out to everyone else because remember it took me so long to find it on YouTube.
Yeah,
nice bod.
Ugh. Check in with your bod. Is your tag itchy? Are you hungry? Did you drink water today or yesterday? Get your sensitivity needs in check. We know you have them. Fixing these are like easy things that you can fix. You know, if you have a really itchy tag, cut that fucker off.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Cut a bitch.
Even if it leaves holes in the back of your shirt, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You don't have to look at it.
That's like one less thing that you have to think about, right? Drink some goddamn water. It's good for you.
Yep.
Unless you're in like Flint, Michigan, don't drink that water.
Yeah, get some filtered water.
You should write a letter. It's like these little tiny things that give you just the amount of dopamine that you need, or the one less thing to think about, one less thing that's bothersome for you that might actually get you out of this like spiraling paralysis that you have.
Yes. And actually for me, because I'm on meds that really reduce my appetite, part of like why I have trouble getting going in the morning is like, I'll look at my list and I'll be like, all right, I could get into this like pretty intensive focus task, but what if I get hungry halfway through? That's going to throw me off and I don't want to get hungry. So, I really need to like make myself eat a bigger meal before I get into that list, but then I have to make the meal. And so it's like, that's kind of where I get stuck. But really, I feel like, eating something, especially if you're trying to dive into something, is really important. So that way you're not like halfway through and you're like, whoa, why am I so faint and dizzy?
I feel terrible and I don't know why.
Oh, I haven't drank water in 12 hours.
One time I was running around and I was so grumpy and then I realized I hadn't peed all day.
Jesus Christ.
I was just like, I feel terrible and I hate everybody. And then I peed and I was like, wow.
I am such a monster when I have to pee. I'm like the meanest person in the world. I didn't know I
had to pee though. That was the weird thing. I was just like running around with like a liter of fluid in my bladder.
That's that introception.
Yeah. And I was just like upset, and then I was a different person night and day.
It'll really change you.
Yeah.
And along the lines of check in with your sensory needs, that reminds me also, if you can, like change up, like have kind of a drastic change in your sensory environment. Like if you work from home, for example, if you're just not able to get going for the day, take a shower and kind of just like reset your morning. I saw someone refer to it on TikTok as like a second morning.
Oh.
Where instead of getting to like noon and you're like, well, my whole day is shot because I haven't gotten going yet.
Yeah.
She does her whole she actually like was together and had like a get ready nice morning routine. But she like resets by taking another shower for the day or first shower of the day. And like getting ready as if it's 7 a.m. or whatever, getting ready for the day and kind of giving herself that like physical restart, which I thought was cool. But if you can't take a shower or you're not at home, you can do things like put your hands or face into a bucket of ice water, a bowl of ice water. That one's nice.
That sounds unpleasant.
Yeah, it's meant to like kind of shock your system, your nervous system. It's very good for you. It's called good stress. It's one of those things that's good stress.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like the grapes, wine grapes. They make more. They taste better when they're under a little bit of stress.
Oh, I gotcha.
So bright light, or the soil's not like a little. Maybe it's a little rocky. Maybe there's some wind.
Yeah. Or you could also, that makes me think, go outside for a minute, even if you aren't in a place to be able to like go for a little walk, even just like changing up your environment and just like stepping outside. And that's the only task you have to do. Make it very small, like literally step outside. I feel like the change of environment might, get you going, change up your sensory environment.
All right. And sometimes in Maine, it's you might as well be sticking your face in a bucket of ice water. Yeah. It's so cold out there.
Exactly. And you can just step outside for a minute.
That's the Maine humor for the Mainers.
No, but it's true.
It is true. It really is fucking cold here.
It's just true. Well,
not today.
Not as much
today
right now.
Is unseasonably warm.
Thanks, climate change. But it actually is very nice out. All right, what's your next piece of advice?
My next piece of advice is something I also don't do. But I would recommend it because it sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Breaking up tasks into like little tiny bite-sized pieces. And then that way they don't seem as daunting. And my big example I'm using for myself, mental note to Kristen, figured out with laundry, folding laundry, that's always on my thing. But I hate laundry. We've talked about it before. I won't bore everybody. But maybe if I just said fold the towels. Towels are easy to fold and they're kind of nice. Easy. Like they're fluffy. They feel nice texturally. It's nice.
Yeah.
I can fold some towels.
There you go.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then maybe by the time I'm done with the towels, maybe the rest of the laundry isn't that bad. I'm already down there. I'm already folding.
You might as well. And you're already going.
Yeah.
An object in motion stays in motion.
Right.
And all that.
So breaking them up so they don't seem as daunting, and then just, they're not as daunting. And then now you're kind of like building up steam.
Yeah. I would kind of refer to that as a starter task is kind of what I call them, where you're taking like a tiny, tiny, tiny little task. It could be on your to-do list for the day or not, like either way. If you know that it's a task that, you know exactly what the expectation is, you know how to do it, it's, going to be fine. Like with folding the towels, it's something that you're like, if I have to do anything, I don't mind doing that. A little tiny starter task like that, or, even if you said, I'm going to fold 2 towels, or I'm going to put 4 dishes in the dishwasher, I'm going to make myself a sandwich for lunch later. Isn't that nice to do for myself later? Or like going in your office and like literally just turning the lights on. Make it like a tiny, tiny little starter task. So then, like you said, you're already up and going. So then it's like, you are in motion. You are more likely to stay in motion. So you might as well just keep going. But yeah, trying to start with like this huge, overwhelming block of, what does one guy call it? A wall of awful.
Oh,
what
the
is that
wall
podcast? Is that ADHD Rewired?
Yes.
Yes, right? He calls it a wall of awful.
Yeah, the guy with the 20-minute episodes.
Yes, the nice short ones that we could never pull off ever. Literally, we can't introduce this podcast
even get
in
it
20
under
minutes.
an hour,
I know.
20 minutes.
Yeah. So instead of just staring at that wall of awful, like you said, break them up into tiny, tiny little tasks, and also
a brick of waffle.
A brick of waffles, as they say.
What is wrong with me? I was like, I'm going to be real
brick of waffles. And you were very clever. Would never have thought to say that. Yeah. So instead of facing that brick of waffles, you have like one little waffle that you can start with. And then that's like, all right, I feel like I've climbed this waffle. I could probably scale the whole brick. I'm just gonna keep going with this analogy. I kind of like it.
I love waffles, though.
I love a waffle. In addition to breaking tasks up by little tiny tasks within it, you can also break it down by time to make it feel more manageable.
Ooh.
Like saying, I'm gonna sit down and write for 4 minutes, or I'm gonna run for 30 seconds. Like literally make it so low that you're like, well, that's silly. And when you're at that point where you're like, well, I can do that. That's silly. It really is like tricking a child, but it's yourself.
Right.
Where once you get going, it's like, oh, actually, this isn't too bad. Because part of it is that we build up so much anxiety of this is going to be the worst task ever. Right. And this is going to take us so long and it's going to be terrible. But if you can get yourself to do it for like 30 seconds, once you're going, like we say, you're just going to like want to keep going because it does feel good to be doing stuff. That's the thing. Once you get going, it's that getting in and out of the wet. It's transitioning. I feel like even with writing stuff I don't want to be writing, where I'm putting it off. Once I get myself to fucking sit down and focus and put my binaural beats on and focus, I'm like, oh, this actually feels really good to my brain. I should remember this for next time. And then the next time comes and I like fight it like, no. Like you're dragging me down a hallway trying to get me to take a bath. But so I feel like having those either super, super tiny tasks or super, super short amount of time for tasks will kind of trick you, And you'll never catch on. You'll keep falling for it. So keep using it. Yeah.
I saw this TikTok, this woman, one of the things I'm trying to accomplish is exercising regularly. And I still haven't figured out like, by the time I'm done with work, I don't want to do anything. So then I'm like, what if I work out in the morning? But the morning is pretty early for me. So that's also really bad. And then, we've talked about how I have a hard time getting to bed on time. So, but this person said that she goes to bed in her workout clothes that she's going to work out in the next morning. That way, because you don't have the task of like, okay, I have to get up. It's cold. I have to get out of my comfy PJs into workout clothes, and then I have to go work out, and then I have to shower. But if you're already in workout clothes, you're like kind of breaking up that task or taking one little, you're like, well, I'm already dressed. Yeah. I'm already dressed for it.
Yeah, I might as well. Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
All right, the next one I know that you hate.
I hate it. This is my least favorite.
Yeah.
Pause and reflect. Fuck that, first of all, every single piece of information I read, whether it was Attitude Magazine or Psych Central or whatever, that was like their first thing. They're like, pause and reflect. If you are in, this is like from someone who's like never had an paralysis spiral before. Like, if you're like in the thick of it, I'm not gonna be like, maybe I should just pause.
Well, it's like saying just get a planner.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Why didn't I thought that?
You know, it makes me so like irrationally angry because it's just like, it's not that simple, you know? I'm like in the throes of some sort of like mental crisis on how to do all of my chores, and you're telling me to just stop and think about it. What do you think I've been doing? I've been stopping and thinking about it for a very long time. That's why I haven't done anything, because I'm stopping and I'm thinking about it. Yes. I'm upset.
But you're not stopping you're not stopping the thinking is what
I'm
they
not
want
stopping
you to
the
do.
thinking.
That's
I'm stopping and thinking.
Yes,
I'm thinking too much.
Stop thinking. Yes. Like
it's very difficult when your brain's going like 30 million miles a minute.
Yes.
To just stop. That's not how physics works.
Yes. I have a very hard time with this too. And Tracy Atsuka from ADHD for Smartass Women, she talks about this one. And I think she acknowledges that it's very hard to do, but it does work very well, which I'm sure it does.
How do you just stop?
Well,
you're just like, I guess I'll stop.
So her trick for this, and actually this ties into our tapisode where I first talked about this, is tapping. She uses tapping.
Okay. Well, that's different.
Because then you have an action. I think you're totally right. We're like just expecting you to stop and like pause and just not do anything, not think anything is insane for us. It's not going to happen.
It wouldn't, even if I wasn't in an ADHD paralysis spiral, I wouldn't be able to just stop and pause. Like, that's not how I work.
Well, yeah. So getting yourself to just like completely stop moving or stop thinking is like against everything we hold dear to us. But starting tapping, and it doesn't even have to be with the app, like you can just start tapping on the side of your hand on that karate chop point and just like doing some deep breathing. And you can, I think just the tapping alone and the deep breathing is going to like kind of take your body out of that fight or flight. But if you can also manage that on top of it, you can kind of just like, I don't know what she says to herself, but like some, positive affirmations, or like, I have plenty of time to do these tasks and I can get stuff done and blah, blah, blah. I am safe. I'm whatever. But just like the physical action of tapping on the side of your hand will get you into motion. It'll be giving you something purposeful that you're like doing and focusing on. So you'll feel like a little productive. And it can also be like a great starter task, to kind of reduce your anxiety and get you into motion. Or you could use an easier starter task to get the ball rolling and then do tapping and then move on to a big task on your list. But I think just like starting with doing some type of like body work when you're in that moment would be more helpful than, just trying to pause, because that pause is so hard.
No, I completely agree with what you're saying. There's no way. So, I mean, if you're able to just pause, please write us in.
Then you probably meditate.
Yeah.
I think it's people who meditate are able to do that, which would be good for us. But here we are.
Put it on the list of things to think about.
Another thing I saw on TikTok about how moving your eyes to the side, like moving them one way, like over to the left and holding it, like without being too painful, but like kind of as far as you can go to that, to your like left side field of vision.
Just the left, not the right?
Well, no, first you're going to do it to one side, whichever side, and you're just going to hold it for 30 seconds. And then you're going to do it to the other side and you're going to hold it for 30 seconds. And sometimes you'll like yawn or have this like reflex to open your mouth, or you'll feel a little sleepy for a second or whatever. And I guess that's the sign of your body kind of coming out of that fight or flight, and that will like calm down your system. So that's another thing that you can do with your body.
That's cool.
That's easy, where you can pause.
I could do that.
Right?
Yeah.
So even if you're in that freak out with, your mind is going, you don't know where to start. Literally just, you can shift your eyes to the side and hold them. You can hold it longer. I think it'd be, beneficial to hold it for even longer than 30 seconds, but let's just aim for 30 seconds, And so that might be another kind of even easier way to do something that's going to help without, necessarily getting yourself to do something, like get up and do something. So I've been using that one too when I'm really stuck in it. I'm like, I can't even manage tapping right now. Just like shifting my eyes to the side and holding it. It really does help me a bit.
That is interesting. I'm going to have to try that one.
Yeah, I'll have to find the TikTok because I'm sure I didn't explain it super well.
It's a TikTok. Here's another one. We kind of already talked about this a little bit. Get yourself a buddy.
Yeah.
Probably not Grace. I don't think you're going to hold me accountable.
I'll hold you accountable.
You're going to hold me. If I call you being like, I have a million chores to do and I don't know which one to start with, you're going to be like, take it easy on yourself. Because you always do that. You're always so supportive when I don't do anything.
Sorry.
And you're so, stop being so supportive and loving and caring.
I guess I'm not a good person to call for that. Because I would either say, you probably deserve a day off.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Or try some tapping and then you'd be like, fuck you. You know?
Probably, yeah. Yeah. Get yourself a Christopher who will find a playlist that you'll like that's upbeat and then call you back 4 minutes later or 4 songs later to make sure and check in. That was a great technique. Or just like if you have a friend and you're like, hey, can you call me at like 2 p.m. to check in and make sure? Because then you have like that deadline.
Yep. Yeah. Having an external deadline, I would say is helpful. Mm-hmm. And you could also like try to hold yourself accountable by scheduling a body double session.
Yeah, you can even do it through FaceTime, you know? I see that all the time on TikTok, people just having body doubles on TikTok.
And there's also, I was looking for the website, I can't find what it is, but there are a few websites where you can like sign up for body doubling like sessions with people.
Oh, nice.
And they'll like pair you with someone. And there's like an ADHD specific one, I think one just for women also. Yeah, so I feel like also having something like scheduled into your day, especially for, a Saturday or Sunday or some random day where it's like I have this whole day spread out in front of me. I feel like that's really when we hit that pile of waffles or whatever the fuck you said.
A brick of waffle.
A brick of waffles. When we have like this whole unscheduled day. So I feel like having something scheduled in your day would be really helpful. I know it's helpful for me. Or get a friend who will call you and schedule like fake appointments for fake things that you think are real in the moment. Like, hello, we need you to come into the mechanic's office because your airbags are stale. And then, so then that kind of gives you some structure to your day. And then a half an hour before you're supposed to leave for the appointment, they call you to cancel it. Now look at you, baby. You got a stew going, but also you got a whole day in front of you.
I always threaten my coworker with this because every weekend he's at the age where every weekend is a wedding or some sort of social event. And he's always like, I wish I just had like a day off to do nothing like you, Kristen.
Wish I could just be a nothing piece of pile of shit like you, Kristen.
So, my other coworker and I, we always threaten him that we're like gonna like make fake plans that we're all gonna like meet somewhere out and about and then all cancel 30 minutes later without him knowing, and then he'll finally have like a free Friday.
That's what you gotta do,
right?
Legitimately, I would love for people to do that for me.
Too many plans.
I don't have that problem. I have too much unstructured time. All right. I think that winds down our advice corner, right?
Yeah. I hope we take it.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice if we took our own advice?
Yep.
But you guys should, because we're
don't be like us.
Yeah, don't be like us. Get yourself into action. Get some starter tasks. Don't expect yourself to do everything all at once, because that also plays into perfectionism. We're worried about making like the right decision, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. And that's an aspect of perfectionism. And we don't need that in our lives, And I think is that all we had on that topic?
I think that's it. If you have any tips or tricks or advice or comments or questions about ADHD paralysis, please let us know at where'safeather@gmail.com. If you are like, they mentioned like magical thinking or something like that, and they didn't explain it really well, and you want us to do a whole episode about it, email us at where'safeather@gmail.com.
Yep.
You can also find us on the socials. And what are they? They're Instagram, they're Facebook, and that's it.
Yes. At Where's the Feather.
I got locked out of the TikTok. I don't know how to get back in.
Yeah, whatever. We'll maybe
one day
come upon it again someday.
Figure it out.
Yep. I also wanted to add in a new thing.
Whoa.
Our listener, Jamie. What's up, Jamie? Jamie made us some cool ass mugs.
Yes.
We'll have to post those on social media soon once we get them. She's the best. But she recommended that we start a Buy Me a Coffee account, which I've heard other podcasters talk about it, but I've never looked into it, and I didn't really
I've never heard about it.
Coffee is spelled Ko-fi, like
which
Ko-fi.
I love when words are spelled how they should be.
Yeah, that is how coffee should be spelled.
Coffee.
Or maybe F-E-E, coffee.
Yeah.
Either way. Yeah, so we looked into it and we decided to start an account because that was a great idea, Jamie. So essentially, like the problem with Patreon that we were running into is we need to get the content in order to make the Patreon to have, you guys donate to get the content. If you give a Moose a muffin.
Yeah.
If you give a Kristen a waffle pile. But with Buy Me a Coffee, I guess you can just like donate to the podcast and it's kind of like buying us a cup of coffee, and it can be any amount. I think I haven't looked into it thoroughly enough, but I will have by the time this episode comes out, and you can count on that.
We have a deadline now.
Yes, I have to do it. But if you want to donate to this podcast and you want us to keep doing this, that isn't a threat. We'll try to keep doing it regardless. But money is definitely one of the factors that makes this difficult to continue on because of the editing, and we want to pay someone to edit. Blah, blah, blah. We
want to keep up with doing all this and the content and making sure that we do like the correct amount of research, and we want to do it right. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right.
Yes.
But that takes a little bit of money.
Yeah. And my brain energy is not best spent sound editing, believe it or not. It could be much better spent writing weird shit for the podcast.
Grace is a wonderful writer, as you can tell by all the show notes.
And the sound editing is...
Yeah.
So...
Well, it's... to you, but maybe some poor soul out there.
They're not a poor soul because I wish I liked it. Yeah. I wish I could do it and be fine with it. And I'm fine with it. I've been swallowing it down deep. But all of that is to say, if you want to donate to the podcast to keep this horse train running, you can go to ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/weirds-of-a-feather. And you can come and donate to us and buy us a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And that would be nice. It could
be a Cumberland Farms price.
Yep.
It could be
a Godiva fancy chocolate. Yeah. There's a whole range of types of coffee, and it doesn't even have to be coffee necessarily that we'll be buying.
Obviously.
Yep.
What we're trying to say is any little tiny bit we would really, really, really appreciate, just to kind of keep this going so we can continue to bring you content such as this waffle brick wall theory that we were talking about.
Don't you want us to expand on that?
Yep.
So it's not a threat. It's a ask. So come check it out and whatever. All right.
Or not. You don't have to, because once again, this is totally non-obligatory.
Yeah. If you're fine with the consequences, then I guess that's on you. That's between you and God.
No.
All right. And on that important note,
on to the bod.
Kristen, show me that bod.
We've got a great bod today. I think most people know about this bird, but maybe some people don't. The cassowary. You've heard of this bird.
Yeah, they're in Australia.
Yeah, they're a flightless bird. They're the third largest bird behind the ostrich and the emu, and they're about the same. They look like the sillier Muppet version of an ostrich.
That's the perfect way to put it.
Yeah,
they're like a cartoon.
Yeah, like they're bright color. They have these weird like moppy feathers, but they are angry.
And they got that big thing on the top of their head.
They got a big like horny thing. They look very much like a dinosaur. Yeah. And then their face is like red and their neck is blue. Or maybe their neck is red and their face is blue. Gotta watch the video again.
Something's red and something's blue.
Right. They look silly, but they're not silly. Don't. No. Okay, they are labeled the world's most dangerous bird because they regularly kill people with their giant talon legs.
Yeah, they stab you in the heart. They can pierce your heart with their talon legs.
According to Wikipedia, which is where I get all my bird information.
Bird facts.
They're flightless birds in New Guinea. They are very wary of humans, but if provoked, they are capable of inflicting serious, even fatal injuries to both dogs and people. And that is why they have been labeled, quote, the world's most dangerous bird.
Right behind the robin. But they are also in Australia.
Are they really?
Yes, because someone was warning us about them when we were up north.
Would they fly over? No, just kidding. They're flightless.
They can't. They're flightless. But we were up in, I don't know, rural Australia, somewhere in Queensland. And this guy was kind of just like, so look out for these giant scary birds that can puncture your hearts.
Okay. I'm looking at it now. imagine a really big feather duster.
Yep.
But then attach like a bird turkey neck. I can't even like describe it. It's got a blue.
You don't need to. People can just look
with
at the
red
picture.
wattle. I can't even describe it.
Anyway,
let's hear it.
Let's just play it. You don't even know how to describe a burp to an alien. What makes you think that you can describe this?
I think I'm giving you an example. I was like, should we go through like carbonation and explain that to him?
You're doing too much.
Or
you're doing too much.
Them. Okay.
Oh.
You nailed it.
Did I get it?
It's going to take me a couple times. I don't even know. I'm having some paralysis on where to even begin with this one.
Very gurgly. Yeah, it sounds very like wild pig-esque.
Like a wild pig snoring.
Ooh. Almost like a bullfrog.
Like a bullfrog pig.
Yeah.
But it's a bird.
Bullfrog pig bird band. All right. I think we nailed it. You know what? I think we got it.
Just said it right there, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. No need to do it more.
Nah, we got it. It's perfect.